Hi, I'm Dennis Gage, and welcome to My Classic Car. Well, this week we're in Newport, Indiana for the Newport Antique Auto Hill Climb. I absolutely love this show. Little town in Indiana, its claim to fame is one big hill. They've been running this show since the early 1900s. They bring everything here, and it's an absolute blast. Let's do this hill. Woo! Oh man, that was a hill of a ride. Get it? Hill of a ride. Oh. Andrew, how you doing, man?
Nice to meet you, Dennis.
You know, this is my third time at hill climb. I come once a decade.
Okay.
You know, and I just figure you got to come at least once a decade.
Of course.
But this show is just so awesome. It's a Lions Club show, right?
Yep.
And you're the president of the Lions Club.
I'm the president of the Lions Club.
So, you know, not only are you a pretty young guy to be running this show, but you're a pretty young guy to be the president of the Lions Club.
I think so too.
I'm impressed. I am impressed. So are you from Newport? Is that?
Yeah, originally I just live outside of town a few miles now, but yeah, I pretty much grew up here and been coming to this since I was yay tall, and
it was going since your daddy and maybe his daddy was yay tall.
Yeah. It started in 1909, ran to 1915. Fire department picked it up in 63 and 64. Kind of ran out of money, and then the Lions Club picked it up in 68. So it's been running with Lions Club for 56 years.
And it's just, I mean, every time I'm here, it is just about as much fun as you can have. I mean, it's a great show.
There's nothing else like it.
There's nothing else like
No.
it. I mean, this town is a cute little town.
Yeah.
But its main claim to fame is a hill.
It's the hill.
It's the hill.
Yep.
It brings people from all over, and some of the weirdest stuff.
Oh my gosh, you can find it all here.
You can find it all here,
Yeah.
and it all goes up.
Yes. We've had people from Australia come before. They just come over here, buy a car, sell it, go back. I mean,
Just to run the hill.
yeah.
This part of Indiana is pretty darn flat.
Yeah.
So for you guys to have a hill, it's like you're the only kid on the block with a hill. Let me
It
tell you.
is. And it brings all this.
And the Lions Club, it's a fundraiser, and it all goes back to...
Goes back to the community. Like we put on food baskets and Thanksgiving, Christmas party for kids so they can have toys, donate to the local schools, all stuff like that.
It's just a feel-good show.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's a good vibe. Everybody has a great time here. You know, everybody's happy and just digging everything that's going on. What do you say we go to the starting line and see what's heading up?
Sounds good,
All right,
Dennis.
let's do it, man. Well, Rusty, or should I say Cigar Man? Cigar Man.
Don't have the cigar right
Don't
now.
have the cigar right, but
Yeah.
that's what you're known for.
Yep.
And I think you've been here every time I've been here,
I think that's fair to say, yes.
and rocking the same attire.
Mr. Gage, pleasure to meet you, sir.
Good morning, sir. Good morning. Love your Buick. Love your Buick. And you look dashing today, I must say.
Well, I try. The car looks better than the owner, what can I say?
Beautiful, man.
Thank you.
I see the finish line. But this year you brought a different car. You've got this 1910 REO.
Correct. Yep.
So is this an official Speedwagon?
It is not a Speedwagon.
not a Speedwagon.
It predates the Speedwagon by a couple of years, but it is the same company that made the Speedwagon.
And it's REO.
Yep.
But those are initials.
They're initials for Ransom Eli Olds, who originally founded the Olds Motor Works in 1897 and then left in 1904 to found the REO Motor Car Company.
Yep. This has never been in the hill climb that I'm aware of.
It's its first year here. It was restored in the late 1970s or 80s, give or take, and had been in a museum for about 20 years. Had been non-running when I got it, and I got it running again specifically with the intent of getting it back out on the road and getting it here for the hill
and
climb.
up the hill.
And up
well,
the hill.
And that's why early this morning you were queued up, ready to go up there. And this thing runs like a sewing machine. I can't believe it. It's just
Befits the name of REO. Ari Olds was an excellent automotive engineer. It's a fantastic car with the F-head engine, 225 cubic inches, conservatively rated at 30 horsepower. I'll say they're big horses, Clydesdale size.
Belgians.
Belgians, yes, Belgian draft horses. So.
Well, and you're kind of into this this kind of vehicle. You're,
Yes.
you're a horseless carriage guy.
Yes, I'm actually on the board of directors for the Horseless Carriage Club of America. We're the premier touring and preservation for pre-1916 automobiles. The club's been around since 1937 with the express purpose of preserving the history, sharing the history of these automobiles, but also getting them out and using them as they were intended as cars. So doing tours all over the country, doing events like this with the Newport Hill Climb, just getting the cars out into the public eye to see that, yes, it is 100 and, I got to do the math in my head, 110 years old.
Carry the one,
Yeah,
yeah.
carry the divide by two, 110 years old.
110 years old, and you rock it up the hill.
114, actually. See, I didn't even do the math right, but 114 years old.
So what was your time on the hill?
I believe I got about 56 seconds, which isn't bad given that this, again, I'm still doing some fine-tune work on this car, but the first time I went up the hill, there was a little bit of mechanical trouble that I went and made an adjustment and then came back and ran about 56 seconds up the hill.
Well, you know, for a 114 some odd year car, that's pretty.
It's not bad. It's not bad at all.
Typical of this era, these are heavy.
Yeah, heavy sheet metal fenders. It's all a wood body sitting on top of a metal frame and chassis.
Holy cow. And then a fairly, I would say, austere dash.
Hey, you know, the minimum amount of gauge is required.
Now, is this a planetary transmission? Or?
It's actually not. It's a 3-speed manual transmission.
Seriously? You mean like a really?
Like a regular 3-speed,
Wow.
other than the shift controls are on the left side, so you have to
Okay.
shift with your left hand as opposed to everybody being used to
Right.
shifting with your right hand. But you have your standard controls with the clutch, you have the brake, and then the gasoline, and then right in the middle, from the factory, this car came with a cutout to open the exhaust right in front of the muffler. Gives it a little bit more horsepower. I also like to think that maybe sometimes people would use it to scare the horses on the road.
Exactly.
You know, just to cause a little bit of trouble.
Was this a rusty mod here, or is that?
No, that's from the factory.
That's from the factory.
That's from the factory,
Because
yep.
that thing is kind of naked otherwise.
It's right, and what it is it allows you just to have something to rest your foot against, because it is a real sensitive pedal, so it gives you a little bit more control as you're trying to modulate the throttle when you're shifting the gears.
Well, yeah, I see you drive it around and stuff. You're not pussyfooting around
No,
in this
I'm
thing.
not.
I
No,
mean,
it's a car. It's
Yeah,
usable
I
as a
mean,
car. It drives fantastically. It's got, most cars of this era had what they call a leather-faced cone clutch. This
Yes.
actually has a multi-plate clutch in it.
what do you mean, more conventional?
More conventional
Wow.
style clutch. It shifts beautifully. Wonderful shifting transmission. It's just an excellent running car.
And this is the coil?
That's the coil for the ignition, yep. So don't lick any of the terminals on the bottom. You get a little tickle.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
And is this a little storage area
Yep, a
here?
little storage area for tools, and I also, this car, I put some electronic lights on it. So my switch control panel for the lights is over there on the side.
Wow.
That was a father and son project we did this summer. So,
Wow. A couple extra spark plugs never hurts.
yeah, I carry
And
a couple tools.
And would it be considered a touring car?
It is a touring car. So they sold 2 models this year. They had a 5-passenger touring, which this is, which is the Model R, and then they had a 4-passenger touring, which they called a Roadster, which was the Model S. And the difference is the seat's just wider in the rear. So the seat comes over the fender on the Model R and would be inset from the fender on the Model S.
It's interesting how the fenders flatten out. They don't curve on back around.
It was a little bit of a style choice, but it was also to help try to keep some of the mud. When the top is down, you would keep some of the mud off of your top.
And wooden spoke wheels, so these are redone.
These were redone,
Yeah.
yes. Typically, it's a good idea to get them done because what happens is the wood dries out and then
brittle.
the spokes start moving and then things will actually start falling apart.
Yeah,
we go.
that's what I saw earlier. And I mean, that's a pretty engine.
It's a wonderful engine. It's 225 cubic inches. Again, as I said, they rated at about 30 horsepower, but we'll say Clydesdale horses.
Another updraft?
Updraft carburetor.
So this was cast, these 2 jugs were cast independently,
In pair,
right?
yep.
In pairs. And I see you've got the primer cups, that's the choke in essence, right?
Essentially the choke for a really cold day, a little bit of raw fuel in there, you open the valve,
Just
and
drops it right in.
drops it right in, makes it so much easier to start.
Do you ever leave those open to drop the compression too?
Not typically, because if it lights off, they're going to be
exciting.
Yes,
yeah, right.
Yep.
More exciting than you want it to be.
What I use it for is to help time the engine. If you have to make a timing adjustment, you open them up, it just makes it easier to crank over. But
yeah, exactly.
This car is actually, with the carburetor tuning I have on it, when it's warm, it's usually just about a half pull and it starts.
No kidding. Like I said, I saw it running. It's just, I just love these when you can see the lifters out there. It's so cool.
Yeah. It's just a really sweet running engine. It really is.
It's a really sweet car all around, and you dig the hill climb because you're here every year.
Oh yes, you know, I've been coming here for, I was doing the math, I think about 13 or 14 years. And it's just been such a fantastic event.
It is.
I mean, you can't go wrong. The cars are running, they're driving, seeing your friends, the wonderful town of Newport that, you know, puts this on for us. It's just
what's
one.
not to love?
Exactly, exactly.
Well, I love this 1910 REO Touring. Would it have another name?
Model R.
Model R.
Yep.
Good show.
Yeah, thank you, sir. A pleasure as always.
1927 Ford.
Well, Brian, I was driving around the streets of Newport here, and this just grabbed me because I've never seen one. This is a 49, 1949?
49, yep.
Dodge Carryall?
Carryall, Dodge Carryall. There's
Woody.
Yep.
I mean, it is so tall.
They're extremely big for the Woody.
And I mean, the windshield, this thing is, it almost is cartoonish. The windshield is so big, you know, split, because they weren't doing curved glass at the time.
Absolutely
apparently.
not, no.
So you pretty much did this restoration.
I did it pretty well. We took it down to a bare frame sitting in the garage. I questioned what I'd done once I took it down that far, but yeah, we built it ground up and probably have 2,500 hours in rebuilding it. And
how long? I mean, what period of time?
it took me 2 years to gather parts, and then it took us about 3 years for the full restoration. By the time we were working with our wood guy and all that to get it back together, about 3 years.
Well, like I say, I mean, I have never seen one, so there can't be many of them around.
No, there's very few. There's really no, direct books saying how many are left, but probably less than 10, especially the 49s. They made this body style basically for about 3 years, that from a big school bus using this nose down to this being the smallest. And there's 3 different wood manufacturers. So
really?
So what Dodge would do is they would send this off, and they would have different wood manufacturers depending on where the person is in the United States. Would make it. So Campbell was a wood manufacturer. Cantrell made them, and there was one other I can't think of. But there was 3 wood manufacturers that made the wooden bodies, and there you can see a little difference between each one. This is out of New York, actually, is where the wood was put onto this body.
Well, you mentioned this. They use this for a school bus because that's what it looks like. The front of this thing looks like a school bus.
Yeah, this one was actually sold military.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and was actually originally painted. There was a few that left the manufacturer painted. After it was done with its military life, it ended up in Chicago and was used for transportation between a train station and a local hotel into the 60s, and was then purchased by another gentleman that I purchased it from that had it for about 50 years.
Wow. There's a lot of these things have, I mean, it's really almost a wood applique, but this thing is like really wood. Is that true?
It is all wood. On these, most of the Woodies had a steel floor pan and some steel structure in it. This, from the windshield back, floor and all, is 100% wood, except for the fenders and the running boards.
Well, that's probably another reason there aren't many of them.
They just, once the floor started,
that was it.
You could fix a piece of wood on top, but once the floor is gone, you'll lose the structure of the vehicle.
That's the problem.
Yeah, that's the problem.
That's the problem. But I mean, I guess you'd call it a headliner. I don't know what you call it. The roof.
It is
the
roof.
It's like a canoe.
Yep.
It reminds me of a canoe. It's just gorgeous.
It's 100% wood ribbed, and then it's got some oilcloth in between, and then it's got the water barrier on the outside, and
that was it, huh?
And this particular one, we're probably 90% all original wood.
That's amazing. I mean, because that was the death of Woodies, so they just rotted away.
They rotted away, especially here in the Midwest.
Sure.
There's a reason they're all in California. The weather was better
it's
for
dry. They don't like water. But you've really kept this very correct.
As much as I could. We do drive it, but still 6 volts, still running the original 218 3-speed transmission. We changed the gear just to make it a little bit more highway friendly in the rear end.
It's probably normally about 45 top speed.
45 top speed with a little bit different gear. I'm able to cruise at 55, 60 miles an hour. The problem is it drives like a pickup truck.
Exactly.
So you got to keep that in mind.
Yeah, they do kind of wander a bit,
they do. It
so
definitely
does this
wanders.
fold up, or this seat, or does it come out?
These seats can both come out. The back one, you just tilt them forward and they slide out. They're pretty easy to take out. It's rare to actually find them with all 3 seats because a lot of times later in life, they just became a pickup truck to
Yeah, they're a
somebody.
cargo vehicle.
But I was lucky enough, this was in Rossville, Illinois, and the gentleman was a farmer, and they stashed it away in their barn, and most of the parts were with it. It was in fairly good, wood was good, metal was bad because it rusted away, but the wood was good, and we were able to put her back together.
That is just amazing. All the way back here, it's wood everywhere.
It's wood everywhere. And what a lot of people don't understand, the panel that you've seen on the outside is the same panel you see on the inside. So that's not real thick. That's only a quarter.
So I mean, it really is that thick.
That's what you see on the outside, the same as the inside.
Wow.
So it's very thin. It's not like there's a lot of structure to them. Same way with the tailgates. Everything you see there, that panel you see on the outside is the same panel you're seeing on the inside.
So this is what you started with?
This picture here is what I started with.
Well, the wood is pretty good in that still.
It wasn't bad. The picture's deceiving. All the metal was pretty well toasted.
It's just stunning, and it's so doggone tall. It's just amazing. It caught my eye because, I mean, it's hard to miss, frankly.
Sure.
Now you also have that Plymouth right over there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful Plymouth. It came out of the same barn. It was a brother and a brother-in-law. I bought them about 15 years apart, but I first seen it sitting on a trailer in the same barn the day I went and bought this one, and I bought a couple other cars that day, and he wouldn't sell me the Plymouth, and I'm like, but I want the Plymouth. And then
I'll be back.
Yeah. and honestly, what happened was I went back and took the gentleman in his 90s now that had the Woody, took it back, let him go for a ride, took him around town, let him show it off to the neighbors. His brother-in-law goes, hey, you know what? You want that Plymouth? He goes, if you promise to put it back original.
Boy, isn't this the best show in the world?
I love this show.
I mean, it's so much fun.
It's a great community. It gives something for this town. They give, the money's donated back to the area. And what a piece of history.
Oh my gosh. It goes back to the 20s, I think. I mean, it's just
teens.
Yeah, and like the other teens.
Yeah.
Not these teens, the 19 teens.
Yeah, 19 teens, yes.
Yeah, it's just awesome. Well, let's see what powers this Woody.
Sure. There we are.
Okay, so basically a flathead, right?
Yeah, it's a all original 218 6-cylinder. They used them from the mid 40s all the way up until right about 51, 52. This one's just a
single barrel carb.
Single barrel carb, nothing fancy to them. Attached to a 3-speed transmission. They were offered in a 3-speed or a 4-speed. Most of the 4-speeds were in the mountain range areas out west. You'll see.
And that just gave you a double load.
Just gave you a double load.
That was a wall climber,
yeah. Drivetrain's basically all stock.
It's just beautiful. And it's so appropriate because your last name is Woods?
Woods.
So I bet you go by Woody.
I go by Woody.
And you have a Woody.
My dad drove this into me. My dad was a car guy for years and always wanted a Woody, never had that opportunity. I came across the opportunity and had the means to restore it and the ability to restore it. So it's supposed to be a father-son project, and my dad got to enjoy it. My dad has since passed, but he did get to enjoy the Woody, and that really was the whole key to this dream. This car will never go anywhere. I'll pass it on to my son.
It's just fantastic. 1949 Dodge Carryall.
Correct.
Woody.
Yes, sir.
Woody. You're my hero.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's awesome. Oh, it works as a cane. It works as a cane like this. B&M cane camshaft. Gotta love it. Well, Don, you were actually the first car I saw when I got here. You were already queued up to go up the hill.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's a stunningly beautiful car, and it's sitting at the starting line. It was just awesome.
Yeah, we like it.
How'd you do?
Well, I was at 37 seconds, which I think isn't bad. We didn't build a car crazy for speed, but it's respectable.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, like I said before, it's just stunningly beautiful.
Thank you.
You built it or built a lot?
Yeah,
of
the concept was all mine, and then of course I had a lot of help.
Sure.
Yeah. So we studied. I studied Speedsters for about 3 years, photographing everything I possibly could.
Really?
Researching, trying to figure out how we wanted the body custom made off of kind of how they did it back in the day, trying to keep everything really period correct.
Well, and that's the other thing is really Speedsters are all sort of individual. Everyone was different because everybody had their own ideas and this and that. And so, what did you start with? Did you have a complete car?
Yeah, so no, all I had was a chassis and a motor.
Really?
Chassis, motor, and then it had the cowl, and that was it. That's all I had on it, and so sky was the limit. So I bought the car, I put it in storage for about those 2 or 3 years till we kind of had a whole game plan on how everything wanted to be constructed. and making the right contacts and who could do the job. Yeah, so
Start down the road.
start down the road. Yeah. And because Ford didn't make a true traditional factory-built Speedster, if you
Right.
wanted one, you had to
You
hand build
had-
one.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and that's like I said, why they're all
Mhm.
different.
That's why
Everyone's-
that's I like the uniqueness part of it. Yeah.
Me too. You've obviously re-chromed everything.
All original on the
What,
on the grill
really?
shell. Yeah, this was the original shell that was on there. We re-hammered it and got it smooth and repolished it, and then of
So
course
is it
the
stainless
stone
steel?
guard. Stainless steel,
Oh,
right?
okay. Well,
And
that's why.
then I bought another stone guard to make all these stone guards.
Right.
You know, the hand make the stone guards for the headlights.
Oh, my goodness.
And, so that was just taken off of another donor stone guard. And then the headlight pods and everything to hold out the stanchions. Those were all handmade.
Wow.
And
What are these from? Do you know?
I think Studebaker, but don't quote me. I'm not
Wow.
100% sure. You know.
And this is all kind of stock running gear?
Everything stock running gear, yeah. Leave everything really extremely period correct. Mechanical brakes, stock running gear, stock running height. Everything's the same. Looks a little deceiving without the fenders on it.
It does. And
Yeah.
you know, it's surprisingly tall, actually.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Until you see the width of the fenders on them, they have a little bit more of a, different style of look.
It makes it feel, I guess, more squished down because right now
Right.
she seems really tall if that's the stock height.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And you don't have the height of the windshield.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And these are, did you have to make these?
So
or-
yeah, so we water jetted all the windshials. Yeah, so we took those off and water jetted those and just custom made all the bracketry.
No
and
kidding.
They worked very well. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
And the this again, these things are oftentimes pretty rough.
They
this
are.
thing is just gorgeous.
Yeah, so we kept everything pretty original. Even the stock riser we flipped upside down and was able to push everything back just a little bit. We pushed
okay.
everything back about 6 inches, 4 to 6 inches, which gave me a little bit more leg room, being 6 foot tall. But then try to keep all the accessories period correct, and even the deluxe dashboard and things like that. Just try to keep everything from the 20s and 30s as much as we could.
So that is actually a deluxe dashboard?
Deluxe
for the-
dashboard, yeah, made by Dunn. It's got 2 Dunn gauges in it. Yeah, so that's an original Dunn Aristocrat dash.
Where'd you find that?
Well, that was an eBay find.
Was it?
But
Yeah.
now,
It's a great place,
it's
isn't
a
it?
great place. Yeah. So we try to hunt those down as much as we can.
Well, then how about, you made these too?
Correct. Yeah. So we made patterns all off of for the steps, and then we water jetted those and had everything TIG welded, and then I polished them. We made these out of stainless.
Wow. And I love the oak floor.
Oak floor, a lot of clear.
Yeah, a lot of clear.
Yeah. All steel. Of course,
All of this is
double
steel?
Everything's steel. Yeah, all hand fabricated, and it has a few things in there that are for the show as far as cleaning supplies and things like
So
that.
you get
But,
little storage under there.
Little storage. So I got my car cover back there, and car cover sits way in the back, and then enough for my chairs and a few other.
It's actually an amazingly large area.
Yeah,
actually.
it's not too bad. Yeah.
And I
yeah.
like your dual cowls here.
dual cowls. Yeah. So we
And
weren't
that's all
sure.
steel. These are all
It is, yeah.
hand-formed steel.
Everything's steel. We formed everything out of high density urethane foam first
Yeah.
to get the look of what we wanted.
Right.
And then once we got that dialed in, then my steel fabricators made it out of steel. Yeah.
I mean, is this English wheel and
English wheel, mostly
sandbag
hammering and all that. Yeah.
Wow, man,
yeah.
there's so much work.
Yeah. Patrick Hetty out of Carryall, Missouri, is a metal fabricator and just did an amazing job. So yeah.
And I mean, the detail, just the curves and the way she swoops around this bulge out here is fantastic. What are these babies?
Okay, so these I believe are either 49 or 50 Buick Super Roadmaster Deluxe.
And it just works perfectly. And those are
30 Buick front fender marker lights that we just flipped around.
oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
Nice job on the color too. I mean, you know this kind of chartreuse almost.
Yeah, it's all Model A colors, so it's
Even
all,
the
yeah,
chartreuse?
Yeah. So the Vagabond green and Apple Lime green is the traditional Model A colors from 1930.
Man, this has got to be one of the prettiest speedsters I've ever seen. And
Thank you.
The boat
Yeah,
tail is
the
just,
boat tail,
oh,
yeah.
Jesus.
It worked really good, so we
It
like
is,
it. Yeah.
and all your pinstriping, your lettering is just the detail.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Well, we like the detail, we like the pinstriping, but I had to be a little bit more conservative on a car that was trying to keep all relatively period correct. So it's hard to hold back sometimes. Yeah.
I hear you. I hear you.
And you don't know how much is too much. Yeah.
Well, I think you got it just about right here. Oh wow. Did a heck of a job in here too. 2 carbs, huh?
Dual Tillotson carburetors. Updraft, no fuel pump, all still original Model A. Still positive grounded 6-volt system.
Wow,
So
really?
yeah, same deal. We tried to really make sure that we stayed as period correct as we could on the car. I did put an alternator on it, which helps quite a bit with
Yeah, sure.
headlights and a few other things. But other than that, just really wanted to keep the car as correct as possible.
So is that like period speed equipment, the dual carbs? Or?
yeah, dual
Okay.
carbs and the Vortex.
And the Vortex was like from that period too.
from the period, still available from Charlie Yap over at Scalded Dog.
no kidding.
Yeah. So he's a great contact with Speed Components.
And then that's the block color?
Yes, sir.
For,
Yep. Ford green.
And it's a 1930, right?
1930. Yep.
Is the engine 30 also?
1930. Yeah, correct. That's all the same. We got a late 30 firewall with the indented teardrop, so it's late late 31 teardrop. So a little mix up, a few little things in here, but we try, like I said, just trying to keep the car fairly in the 30s.
Love your oil can.
Yeah.
Man, oh man. And I saw you going up. I heard it running. She just runs beautifully.
Really good, yeah. We got a great motor builder in St. Louis. Palmer Lawson built my motor and got everything balanced and tuned up just perfect for me. I've never had a bit of trouble with it. It's always fired right up.
Man, it's stunning. Now, have you been to the hill climb before?
I have. So I've been going for about 20 years now. First went without a car. You can't explain it to people sometimes on the show on how cool of a show it is and how much fun we have. And it's just totally different than any other show you go to.
It is. There's so much weird stuff here. That's what I love. And I can't believe, they'll just run anything up that hill.
Yes, yeah. And for a population of 400 and something people,
on a good day.
What the community brings out to the show, it's great. We love it. Yeah. And of course, a day like today, you can't beat it.
No, I mean, early October in Newport, Indiana.
Exactly.
What's not to love?
It's all good.
Well, I'll tell you, this is something to love. 1930 Ford Speedster.
Yes, sir.
Don,
Thank you.
Nice piece of work.
Appreciate it.
37 seconds.
Yes. For today.
Well, John, it's been a while.
Yes.
About 20 years ago, I think, that I met you here.
Almost 20 years.
Almost 20 years ago. And you had a crazy rod then that caught my eye.
Yeah, it was a 1929 Ford Roadster called El Tiki.
Yeah.
It was like a Barris 60s custom.
What was cool then was later on that same day in the show, I found another car that I really dug. Mm-hmm. And it turned out to be your son's.
Yeah.
So that's where I met Dustin. So I've known you guys for a couple decades now. And you're back. You're both back.
Yep.
You've probably been coming to this forever.
Be our 26th year this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Well, this time you brought something a little bit seemingly atypical for you.
Yeah.
You got this beautiful 32 Studi.
The model is called a President. They made 30 of them in 1932.
That's it?
That is it.
Wow.
The cars were so expensive, they built them to order, and there were 30 people that stepped up to the plate to want to buy them.
But this is also a really special car. It's not purist Studebaker. This thing's a hot rod.
Yes.
But it's also a very special hot rod. This was a Norm Grabowski car, right?
Yes, for those that don't know Norm, he was basically considered the father of the T-Bucket. If you remember 77 Sunset Strip and Kooky, the T-Bucket in that was Norm Grabowski's car. He found this Studebaker in 1974. It was all stock car out of Michigan. It was black. He built the car then. When it was built in an era when we didn't have all the street rod suppliers that we have today.
Yeah, parts catalogs.
Parts
you had
catalogs.
to make everything.
And you had to resource it out of a junkyard.
Yeah.
And so this car was basically built out of junkyard parts.
But he built it looking in its stately self. Is that right?
Yes. Back then, you recall, Dennis, in the early 1970s, a resto rod was very popular.
Yes.
Everybody wanted it to look stone stock on the outside, but have a late model drivetrain. So this has a 383 Chrysler engine, 727 transmission, a 1962 Pontiac Grand Prix rear end. It's got hang-on air conditioning because they didn't have vintage air and the luxury of an aftermarket.
You would never know that to look at this.
Right. When the hood's down, she looks pretty stock.
Because I saw you queued up this morning. I didn't realize it was you. I saw you because you went up the hill at least once already, right? I thought, well, that's a pretty fancy car to be taking up the hill. And lo and behold, it's a hot rod. These headlights, I think, are the first thing I noticed about this car, though. Are these stock?
They're stock. They made them in 1932 and 1933 only.
God, they're huge. And,
Yes, they are.
the shape of them is so interesting.
The whole car visually looks like it would have looked when it rolled off the assembly line in 1932.
Same with the fender markers, too?
Same with the fender markers. Wheels are the optional 18-inch Kelsey Hayes wire wheels with a Lester 750 by 18 tire.
Which are just, I mean, that tire's got to be 3 feet tall.
Oh, they're ginormous.
So even the interior, I mean, you've got, you redone the seats and you got Studebaker stitched into it, but that's pretty much a 32 Studi dash?
Yes, it is, yes.
And that is a famous Grabowski piece.
Yes, Norm was quite the woodworker. That was his hobby.
So that's a wooden piece? Is that?
Yes,
I didn't
it's
know what he
all
made 'em out of.
hand-carved wood.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and his signature, you look, it's got the 23 caliber gun shell sticking through the top.
Yeah, okay.
Made 203 of them.
Oh, so I bet that's a bit of a pricey piece.
Yeah, and that's number 197.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. But they're sought after. And you got some flying eyeballs. Is that also from the Grabowski period?
Yeah, Norm did all that.
It looks really comfy. And what a massive back seat. Does this have the little flip? Oh yeah, it's got the footrest.
The footrest, yep.
Oh my goodness. Fantastic headlamp.
All the window frames are stock. Everybody thinks the car's chopped. It is not chopped, but it certainly appears to be chopped.
It does actually, it does. But that was just the way it came, eh?
Yeah, kind of has a gangster look to it.
It does have a gangster look. These are cool taillights too. That's not stock, is it?
No, they're a pair of 1937 Ford taillights that are welded together. The whole trunk is a Norm thing. If you look at the centerpiece of the trunk, since Norm Grabowski was Polish, that is the symbol of the Polish flag.
That's their crest. Right?
Yeah, the crest, and also has the same crest in the center of the dash and pinstriping.
Can I open it up?
Sure.
Oh, geez, that's. Oh, dig this. What is this, 1979 Rod and Custom?
Yeah. So both of those pictures were from a feature magazine and Rod and Custom in 1979. They're kind of getting old and tattered now, but you can see Norm Grabowski's signature there as well. Down inside the trunk, Norm made a number of these emblems.
Oh,
there
right,
were Norm Grabowski emblems. Car just turned 95,000 miles about 2 weeks ago.
So there's no trailer queen.
No, it's been everywhere.
And of course, Norm was such a character.
Oh, he was.
Late model drivetrain. Let's go see what's under the hood.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's no Studi engine.
It's a 1966 model Dodge Coronet 383 with a 727 transmission. It's got the old York air compressor. You can see on the end of the air compressor there some more of the Von Dutch touches as well.
Flying eyeball, right? Single master cylinder.
So, yeah, it probably needs to be changed.
Living on the edge.
Yeah.
Well, how about the steering setup there?
Yeah, that's a straight out of the junkyard, right off the 65 Impala that the
no kidding.
Steering box and all came off of.
If it's got 95,000 on it, it must run pretty well.
It runs good. I was told it had all the service records, and I got to looking, and 1997 the engine was pulled and rebuilt, and in 1999 the transmission was rebuilt. And they just, right before I acquired the car, the rear end had to be rebuilt. So it's back up and in pretty good shape.
Is it pretty much fun to drive? To go down the road real nice?
It's a blast to drive. What's a real blast is pass people on the interstate.
Oh, you're passing them in this.
Yeah.
Well, because I bet it goes.
It goes. It's with a 62 Grand Prix rear end. It's got a 242 gear and these humongous diameter tires. It just idles going down the road.
Flying.
It'll go however fast your courage is on these tires.
No kidding. So how'd this do up the hill?
It's fast.
It's fast.
I'm sure he would set a record if they would let me.
Well, John, this is great. 32 Studebaker president, Norm Grabowski, not Resto Mod, they call him Resto Rod. Resto Rod from the 70s, 74 or so.
Yes.
This is unbelievable. See you in 20 years? What do you say?
Absolutely.
All
I
right,
hope so.
it's a deal.
I hope so.
Plymouth VIP. Never heard of it. Well, Don, your truck caught my eye, and not just because it's green, because I do like green vehicles. But this is really a nice piece of work, and a lot of work.
Yes, it took a lot of time.
So what year is this?
It is a 1946 Chevy,
Uh-huh.
and the grill is painted metal flake, and it used to come out like this.
Oh,
It
yeah.
kind of looked like a railroad,
Cow catcher, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
cow catcher. So I didn't like it. I wanted to smooth it down straight, and I thought it looked better that way.
Yeah, well, if you say metal flake, that's actually like metal chunk.
Yes.
I mean, that's really a heavy flake. Can I touch it?
Yes.
So, did you clear over it then?
Yes, it's got about 6 coats of clear on it.
So I bet that in the sunlight, that's like,
Oh, yeah, it sparkles like a diamond.
Now, weren't these originally butterfly hoods?
Yes,
hinged in the center?
yes, it was right here in the center, and then I put a plate of metal and then welded it in and a little bit
So
of
okay, you
Bondo.
welded that in. Is that what it is? You kind of tap it down a bit and then Bondo out?
Well, you weld it all the way in. If you
Yeah.
don't, it will crack.
Right,
So
but then do you have to depress it a little bit to Bondo over?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
These had a cowl vent too, right?
Yes, right here, and I filled it all in and smoothed it out. And then it had supposed to have a windshield wiper, at least one, and I filled that in to make it look a little better.
Yeah, and actually, if you go fast enough, it all just blows off your windshield.
Yes, it
You
does.
just have to go fast enough.
Yes, and it will run.
I kind of believe that. Nice interior too. Looks like it's built for comfort.
Yes, it is nice since I stretched it out 5.5 inches.
Yeah.
And the doors, stretched in.
That helps. Now you did chop it, but you must have dropped the seats. It's chopped, right?
Yes, and it's also channeled just a little bit.
Oh,
It dropped down,
Wow.
and the floor is flat.
So I mean, you still have some headroom in there, even with the chop.
Yeah. If you're 6 foot tall, I think you can still drive it pretty good.
And you got the Sinclair signs. Do you have a connection to Sinclair? Or you just green? It's green.
No, just green, and I like the dinosaurs.
You like the dinosaur.
And, yes, and all the kids love them.
Oh yeah. Well, and these tanks are cool too. I mean, these are they gas tanks?
Yes, they are gas tank, but
That
they're not.
doesn't seem real safe.
No, it's not, and they're dummies right now. But if I really wanted to hook them up, I could. And then I got the fuel cell right here in the back, and that's where my main fuel is.
I mean, hiding under all these nickels.
Yes.
So what's the deal on the nickels?
Well, a friend of mine had a tavern. He did a bar all in pennies. And I mean, it really looked good, and it stuck in my head forever. And I thought, hey, this is a good project.
So it's more expensive too,
Yes.
by the way.
Yes,
5
it is.
times the price.
And roughly, there's about 7,000 nickels with heads up. There is a few that got by, and there
that
is a
snuck through?
one Canadian.
Well, you mentioned that. We were searching for it.
One
We actually
Canadian
found
in.
it, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
Here it is. There it is.
No,
Yeah, I
not
think
that. No,
Isn't that it?
no.
Oh, no, that isn't. Okay.
It should be in this area, what I just saw.
Is it
but-
here? No, that's not it. Well, there's a Canadian nickel in here
Yes,
somewhere, I
there is.
hear.
I guarantee it.
So you got 59 caddy tail lights, right?
Yes.
Frenched in.
Yes.
And did you do all that fab
Yes,
too?
I did.
Is that all? Is this all metal?
Yes, it's all
Really?
metal.
So how do
What
you-
I did is take a exhaust pipe,
Yeah.
and I stuck it in there and welded it, and then I cut it to form it the way I wanted.
Oh.
And I didn't like the big fenders on it because I figured that would break it up and give it a better look. And then the bed is all custom to these fenders because it kind of bows out like this.
Welded in the whole tailgate and
Yes.
built that roll pan, I'm assuming.
Yes.
So what's it sitting on?
It is on a S10 frame,
What year?
88.
Okay. Wow. So, I mean, really pretty modern underneath.
Yes, it's got the leaf springs on the back, coils up front. It drives like a normal S10.
Wow. So do you drive it much, or is it a show truck?
I drive it, but I take it, try to all the shows I can. And I went to Evansville like I'm wearing
Oh,
the
so you're wearing a Frog Folly shirt, yeah. I bet it was hit there.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's green.
Yeah.
The Frog Follies love green things.
Oh yeah, they
Wow.
love it.
Well, let's go up and see what the engine looks like. What do you
All
say?
right.
Okay, let's see what you got.
Okay, there is a 350 crate motor
Oh, wow.
with a Sniper 2 fuel injection on it. It's got heat and air,
So
everything like a new car has.
I bet that does get it down the road pretty
Oh,
nice.
it does. I cruise on the interstate about 70 to 80, no problem at
No
all.
problem at all. Did you have to do, I mean, you smoothed the firewall and everything. Did you have to do anything else, or did she sit, well, probably with the S10 frame, she kind of sat right in place,
Yes, yes, it just sits right down in there. All you have to do is weld your motor mounts to it and space it out.
right? Wow. Well, go ahead and close it back up. It's just, it's a great looking
Thank you.
truck, Don. Now you're from this neck of the woods, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
But you didn't take this up the hill.
No.
You
they
could,
won't,
though.
I could, but they won't let me though. It's got too much horsepower.
What is the reg on that?
Horsepower is 380.
Okay. So you're north of 380.
Yes.
Oh yeah. Well, it looks just as good sitting as it does going up the hill. 1946.
Six.
Do you call it Sinclair? What do you call it?
The green machine.
The green machine.
That's all.
I dig it, Don. Thanks
Thank
for bringing
you.
it out.
Thank you.
It's great, man. Yellow, 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 green. The Newport, Indiana Antique Auto Hill Climb is a show that I just love to death. You got to check this out. It's quite a hill. Trust me.